Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the LittleWins podcast, season 4, episode 5, live with Lex. Sorry for the delay. We had some external forces yet again. The live season's really been humbling, to say the least. But I'm really excited to be back and wishing you all a very happy new year because I don't think I had the opportunity to do that yet. We are back today with Mac McGinnis. And Mac McGinnis was in our last season, episode 7, season 3, episode 7, with his miraculous story that still gives me chills and blows my mind and defies all rules of logic. I was delighted when we were reconnected and Max said he wanted to talk about the things that happened after the accident and how he moved through that, because not a lot of people do, as I've found, and how important it is, how rare it is too, to find someone who is open and willing to talk about things that are, tough, really tough. So without further ado, welcome back, Mac. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a blast to come on the podcast. So just happy to be here and excited to have this conversation.
I am too. Thank you for being here. As I said, it's super rare that anyone, I think everything in life is already difficult. So no one really wants to talk about the hard stuff because, they probably don't get enough credit for the good stuff either. So they don't want to,
exactly.
They don't want to talk about that. But when you and I talked on this, and I said, well, I'll talk to you about anything, but what would you like to talk about? And you said, we kind of boiled it down because we could talk about anything. The topics of painkillers as related to mental health and recovery, depression, and what to do about it. Well, I find that extremely important in this day and age. So I love that you're willing to share your story, and I don't want to try to recap it because I start to talk too slow, and then I start to just get caught up in the visuals of it. I will never unsee the words that you said when your ribs went through your lungs.
Yeah, that was a bad one. That one hurt for sure.
That's a major doozy. So yeah, why don't you, if you could give us a little recap?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because we just came up on, I think, God, it's got to be 8 or 9 years, the anniversary of the accident. So it was December 27th, 2017.
I know that because I was listening to it again this morning just to refresh my memory. And I've heard it so many times. It still does the same thing to me, the same gasp every single time. But I love your just smile, the way that you say, you're like, oh no shit, there I was. My ribs went through my lungs. It was super not ideal. But the truth in it and the vulnerability in it. But I was listening to it and I heard that December 27th. So happy anniversary, Mac.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, just to sum it up very quickly, and if you guys want to hear the longer version, like Lex mentioned, we did a podcast on this before, but I'm definitely happy to retouch on it. So I mean, I tell this story all the time. I think, quite frankly, my friends are getting a little sick of it. But without further ado, so it was
Flex, Mac, all the times you died. Came back.
I had a buddy that was like, hey man, we're going out for my birthday. Let's not talk about the ski accident. And I was like, wasn't planning on it, but I'm glad you said something because someone needs to tell me to shut up. So, and he's like, all right, I don't want to paint a bad picture of him. Those weren't his exact words. He said it a lot more politely. Anyways.
We're in summarizing.
Yeah, we were summarizing. Yeah. So, but anyway, so it was December 27th. We were in Lake Tahoe, and it was like 7 a.m. We were the first ones to go up on top of the mountain. And it was one of the mountains where as soon as you have to take 2 ski lifts. So you get on the first one, you go up, and then you get halfway, and then you get on another one. And it was so early in the morning, there was an ice advisory the night before, but it snowed like probably a foot, pretty close to it. So it was so early in the morning that the sun hadn't come out from behind the mountain yet. And as we got to the top of the mountain, my friends were like, we should go down the backside. And we all been skiing for years, so we didn't think anything of it. But there was a sign that said this is closed, and we chose not to listen to it. Also, didn't wear a helmet, so that was my mistake. But we started going down it, and everything was fine. I was the first one to go down, and as I jumped off this little cliff thing and I landed, I started going in and out of the trees. And again, it was so early in the morning that the sun hadn't even come up yet, so it didn't get the chance to melt all the ice that was on the mountain already. And so as I was going through the trees, I went to turn on my right side to get out of the way of a tree, and I just hit pure ice. There's nothing I could do about it. It was like a 70-degree drop. So I was going pretty fast. I think they estimated around 50, 55 miles an hour is how fast I was going. And I went straight into a tree on my right side. So I ended up, just to give a quick recap of all the injuries, starting from my head to my toes, I separated the nerves in my spinal cord. So instantly my right arm was completely paralyzed, left-handed, thank God. And then from there on, I hit it on the right side. So my arm bent back. So separated the nerves from my spinal cord, right arm instantly paralyzed, broke my back in 3 spots, broke all my ribs. I hit it with that much force that my ribs actually ended up going through my lungs. I had a skull fracture, so I was severely concussed as well. And also
severely concussed at the very least.
Yeah, severely concussed. Yeah. But I also separated my liver and my kidneys, and I think that's it, but I could be wrong. But yeah, they were major medical issues going on with me. And I actually got up and was able to make it out to a clearing to where my friends found me, and they saw the whole thing. I kind of bounced off the tree a little bit. And when my friends were looking for me, they came up to me and they were laughing. They didn't think it was anything serious because I was still on my feet. And then I just face planted, and they flipped me over.
Wait, hold on. Time out.
Yeah.
So if you go back to Mac McGinnis's story, he told his life story, or not life, right? It's just that it's just that moment, which was almost the end of it in season 3, episode 7, because we just have some people here. Hello on IG. Say hello. Just
hello, everybody. Thank you for joining.
They need to know that you had the most massive accident. You breezed right over the place where you popped your skis back on, and then you so he has ribs through lungs, back broken 3 places, spinal cord knotted, right arm gonzo, and major.
Yeah, so I did lose a ski in the process. I did lose a ski, but I was able to put it back on somehow, some way. I'm not really sure how I did that. But the ski was back on, and then that's when I made it out to the clearing. And then that's where my friends found me.
Your friends by being so functioning, right? You're skiing down, so they're laughing because they're look at him. How did he make it through? And
yeah, exactly. They didn't necessarily see the tree part, but they saw that I was in trouble. And they were oh, he was going so fast, he hit something, but he's up and he's going, so he's probably fine. And then after, I got to the middle of it, I just completely collapsed. That's when my body was giving up, just done for. My friends got up to me, and I was actually trying to say something to them. And then all of a sudden I just stopped talking. But thankfully, while we were up there, ski patrol was actually on the chair behind us. So by the grace of God,
all these boys going up past where they should have, and thanks God for that patrol. But yeah,
absolutely. It was astounding that they were right there. So all that happened. Ski patrol comes up to me, and I'm not breathing. They pretty much declared me dead on the mountain. I don't have a pulse or anything. And then do you want me to hit on the boulder part?
I feel like you should, because
Okay.
just so that everyone on Instagram knows, hi guys, that the point of today, like the message today that we are going to discuss is that after this, what's the word even, just horrific accident that Mac had skiing, there's so much triumph in the way that you've gone through it, and so much beauty and so much teamwork. God, I hear that loud and clear in the first episode that we talked about it. But it is also the process in the drugs and the painkillers and the things that they put you on in effort to get you through and getting off of those, because it's an issue in in the world, and we need to talk about painkillers, mental health, and what to do about it, depression and all
Absolutely.
that. So this part, though, I like the way we tell stories, Mac. We go like, so it got really bad here, and then it got a little bit better here, and then it got a little bit not as good here, and let's just give them the story. So yeah, please touch on that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So like as ski patrol comes up to me, they roll me over and they're like, don't touch him. Like they cut open my bodysuit and like my snowsuit, and like my body's like 3 times the size it should be. I'm drowning basically from the inside out. Like my lungs are filling up with blood and everything. So I'm not breathing at this point. And I guess when we jumped off that little cliff or whatever, we knocked a boulder loose. And so like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the movie Final Destination, but like, this is it. Like, this is like where we thought it was definitely for sure going to be over. Mm-hmm. Didn't know it at the time, but like looking back on it, this part's pretty crazy. So as the boulder's coming down, there's a person on the top of the mountain and he's like screaming. He's like, everybody like look out. Like there's a boulder coming. Ski patrol sees it. My friends see it. And ski patrol's instantly like, everyone get out of the way. You know, there's already one person down. We don't want anybody else getting hurt because, you know, this is really bad. And my one friend was like, no, like absolutely not. I'm not getting out of the way. He's not wearing a helmet. So he standing like at the top of my head, he actually takes his ski boot out of his ski and stomps it in front of my head. And the boulder hits off his ankle and clears my entire body. And like right then and there, like I take like a deep breath in and I'm like, my name is Mac McGinnis. Like, I think I was like 23 at the time or something like that. And ski patrol was like, oh my God, he's alive. Like, this is insane. So they ended up calling in a helicopter and they airlifted me to a hospital in Reno, Nevada. And instantly put me in a coma. So, and you know, for the coma, to be in a medically induced coma, I was on fentanyl, morphine, and Dilaudid just to stay in the coma. And like I said, like this happened on January 27th, 2017. I didn't wake up December. I didn't wake up until like January, like 30 something, like either 30th or 31st or something like that, 2018. So I was in there for like a month and a half, like in a coma. They gave me a 1% chance to live. They gave me a 5% chance of ever moving my right arm again. I actually flatlined 4 times.
I'm sorry.
There was this one.
Say that a little louder for the people in the back. You did what, 4 times?
I flatlined 4 times. Yeah. So four times they declared me dead. I had a priest come in.
The one on the mountain. The one on the mountain. That's 5.
That's 5. Yeah, that's 5. And like, I mean, even got to the point where like they told my family, they're like, I think after the 3rd one, they're like, he's done for. Like, he's literally drowning from the inside out. There's nothing we can do, so on and so forth. And it got to the point where, like, I mean, I was born and raised Catholic. They called a priest, and they had a priest come in and give me my last rites because, like, they thought it was 100% over. But in the spirit of teamwork, there was a nurse named B. Shout out B again. Yeah, she's my hero.
And friend with the boot too. To have the wherewithal Jordan, to have the wherewithal, people, when you're in that, you have what, a millisecond to make a decision, and you know, statistically, unfortunately, a very large portion of the population will make a selfish decision there and move out of way of Boulder because they declared you dead, and They said that there was nothing they could do. And he laid down next to you, threw his boot in front of your head.
Yeah.
And then it missed you both entirely. And
Well, it hit off his boot.
His ankle,
then, like,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then sent it like up.
They need to know. You have to watch season 3 too, the season 3, episode 7 for the full story. Because today we're gathered here today on opioids and mental health and the upside and the chagrin that only Mac McGinnis can deliver. So off of his boot. There are so many heroes in this story, and you're one of them. I didn't like that part of the last episode where you kind of were like, I was napping the whole time. Not really.
I mean, it's true. I mean, yeah, there were certain parts. I mean, I think personally, like where I fit into this story is the back half of it. Because I had so many people. Yeah.
We're talking.
No, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, and a lot of it, like, I didn't realize, everything that happened. It took a while for me to realize everything that happened to me, like years. And I never really thought about it until one day I did, and that's when things kind of got really bad. But anyways, like, to go back to the story, was in the coma for a month and a half, died 4 times. The last time I flatlined, this nurse was like, she found this medical journal from like 2011 where she said essentially they could flip me over during certain hours of the night and let gravity do the work. And I mean, keep in mind, I had 14 chest tubes and I was on a ventilator. So like moving me around was not really an option. She even went as far as to 3D print like a thing for my face, like in order for me to roll over on each side. But she brought this like medical journal to my doctors, and my doctors were like, no, there's no chance we're going to do this. Like, it's not feasible. You're just prolonging the inevitable, blah, blah, blah. And I think like at one point she was like, if we don't do this, I'm going to quit. And Renown Hospital is like one of the top trauma facilities in the United States because of that reason, because of skiing. So to have her basically be like, hey, I'm going to give up my job here because we're going to lose him if you guys don't think this is possible, then I'm walking out. And at that point, like, the doctors were like, all right, like, we don't have a choice. It's worth a shot. And I think my family was on board with that. So I like, after the first couple of rounds where they were flipping me over during the middle of the night, like, my chances just started steadily increasing. So I went from a 1% chance to excuse me, like a 25% chance, and then 50 and 75 and so on until I woke up.
Well, and that is, I want everyone to know the very short story of that accident. And everyone must hear the whole story because there are so many beautiful moments within it. But you did, I don't know how, remember that time, and Daniela is probably somewhere out there laughing right now, where anyone on my team, I'm like, well, that should be easy, right? I say, Mac, you can condense that story to like 5 minutes so we can talk about the rest of it. The rest of the time.
I think I got it down.
You casually died 4 to 5 times, but maybe you could just condense that portion.
Yeah. I think I've got it down packed to like where if anyone ever asks, like if I don't want to talk about it, which is very rare, I can do it in like maybe 2 minutes if I need to.
You reserve the right to talk about it whenever you want. Okay. That's
okay. Yeah.
That'll be that. Okay. So thank you for that. And I will forever remind people. I also am not the only one who was so moved and inspired by your story. Your episode last year was by a landslide. Our most, I don't know what do you guys call it? Like, is it plays? Is it streams?
Listen, like, yeah, whatever.
Like
plays, streams. Yeah, it's all the same.
It was just the one on analytics that was like, because it's so human, but also so superhuman. And you don't hear a lot of stories like that. So I'm glad that we get to continue with it on this other and for your concept of let's talk about the second part of what that recovery looked like. When it comes to painkillers and all of that, my only experience was from having C-sections. And they give you these like ridiculous, I wrote them down. I couldn't take them because I got violently ill. Or there's this one they did give me, hold on. It's here. That made my hands tramadol, something like that. Made my hands like itchy and numb. I took that for like one day. They said, try it again tomorrow. Maybe it'll go down, but there's a lot of nerve damage in your body. The second day I was like, I just want this 600 milligram Advil. Like I don't want to do, this feels like more to work through than just this across my stomach. I don't want to do it, but that's just because I had children to take care of. It was very, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, looking back at those moments where it could have been so easily given to me, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Thank God.
And like to that point, like it's, you know, obviously I didn't ask for this, but like at that point, no, right. Sorry. At that point in time though, like it was needed. And there are certain points in people's lives. Like,
that's why I'm drawing that parallel. Like I had C-sections, right? You died 4.5 times.
4.5.
More, you had so many injuries that just that one injury could have killed you.
Yeah.
Like, yes. So that's the range, I guess, we're trying to draw for our people. Hi guys, look at all the waves. Here, I know I don't have a dual screen. I don't know. I'm a rookie, but like, look at all the waves. Say hi.
Hello, everybody. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time I've been live on Instagram or anything like that. So happy to be doing this too. This is the first for me.
It's only
this is exciting.
So like I'm new here too. So everybody, can you meet me and Mac who's back on YouTube on the LittleWins channel, because my phone is actually going to die and I'm gonna miss your waves. I'm gonna wave back, and so is Mac. But we want to talk about all the depression that we've been talking about the entire season 4. But you know what? We have to. It's critical that we do. So I promise it'll be fun. Please meet us over, and there is a chat portal where if you want to ask questions for me, Mac, or otherwise, we would love to hear them. But I'm gonna have to go now. Thank you for joining. How do you get out of it? Okay. So thank you for that. Wow, that was a lot. And I'm always so moved when anyone wants to talk to me like you, and then people want to listen and they trust that I will somehow be united with someone like you. So the drug and overdose, the opioids, the side effects, I have papers for days. So I'm just going to let you tell your story and experience with it, because I just have facts and I already told you my limited experience. I just wanted it to be known that a lot of these are prescribed for moderate to severe pain. A lot of these are for just like post-operative care. And it's not always made apparent how damaging or how addicting or how harmful those things can be in long term when you may only need it for a short term. Not when you died 5 times, Mac. So hit it with your experience.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think like it's important to note too that like every state is different. You know, some states are way better about prescription drugs than others. But for my instance, like I was in California. So like after I got out of the ICU and I was back in San Francisco, and I was in a rehab facility, like not for drugs or anything like that, but like to learn how to walk again. Like physical therapy like hospital.
Mhm.
So, but they were just prescribing me painkillers like nonstop. Like I had like the list right here. So I was actually on 10 milligrams of Percocet. It says take 4 to 8 hours as needed. Oxycontin, 10 milligrams every 48 hours, take as needed. Valium, 5 milligrams, take as needed. Ambien, 5 milligrams, take as needed. Xanax, which is like the same thing as Valium. So I don't know why I was prescribed both those things. That was 1 milligram, and that was take as needed. Also, there is no like timestamp on how many refills I can get. Like it doesn't even show that. And then the other thing I was also on Zofran. So Zofran is not a painkiller, but it's a drug that helps with nausea. And then methadone to even it all out, which is like methadone is typically used for recovering, like people that are trying to get off drugs.
Get off of drugs.
I learned that.
And
Suboxone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that and Suboxone are like the two ones that like people take like when they're going through withdrawals and stuff like that. But in my case, like once I got out of the rehab facility, after like I was able to walk on my own and stuff like that, they're like, okay, we're going to switch you to outpatient, where I was living at one of my old boss's house, and I had a physical therapist that would come in like twice a week and just do physical therapy with me. But I was still prescribed all these drugs, and it got to the point where like I wasn't getting any better. And it wasn't because I didn't want to get better. It was because I was taking all these drugs, and I wasn't myself. I was like a shell of a human being.
Okay. Yes. Well, first of all, how I listed those down, as well as the ones that put you, they use for when you definitely needed the coma, right? When you first had the accident. So that in addition to all of those, there's fentanyl and Dilaudid, right? So are you trying to tell me that there's no drug interaction between all of that cocktail, like Percocet, Oxy, Valium, Xanax, Zofran, methadone, morphine, fentanyl, and Dilaudid? They can all be taken together.
Apparently. So like what it's funny
does that
like
not stop you for a second? Because like they won't even let me give, if my kids need to take an antibiotic, they say make sure they don't get any probiotics.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
like,
it's crazy because what they ended up doing is like, so I don't have any family in California. Obviously, like when I say I was living with my boss, like I was actually living in my boss's house, my ex-boss at the time, and he didn't know what to do. Like I'm not his kid, and he's never been through anything like this. Him and his wife haven't been through anything like this. So all they did was they handed him this red binder, this lovely red binder that is instructions on how to take the medication and everything like that.
wait, can you open it for the class? Because it's not going to be detailed. I without seeing anything in there.
This is the red folder, but I've since gotten rid of all of that because there was a time where I was like, I don't want to remember this.
No, of course.
But no, I think it's important to talk about for sure, because it doesn't get talked about, and it's really sad and heartbreaking.
I love that you still use the red folder. There's a lot of power in that.
Yeah. You want to know what's in the red folder? Drawings that my family's made me. So that's what's in the red folder now. Handwritten notes.
That's what belongs in there. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was an empowering thing in itself. That was like when I got rid of those papers, I was like, I don't want to revisit this. But I was like, this binder's still got some use though. And so I had someone put it together for me, and it's all these super nice drawings that my cousins made me, and a bunch of positive words and some handwritten letters. So it's nice to revisit every once in a while.
Way to take all those, drug related papers and replace it with something beautiful. I mean, it's so clever and it's so perfect. That's why I think you're my miraculous Mac McGinnis. But I don't want to lose this one thought really quick. So what you said was, you didn't feel like yourself. Did I hear that correctly when you said you were recovering and you had a physical therapist and you were walking, but you were on these drugs and you didn't feel like yourself? So I learned this a few times, and I kind of have to relearn it all the time because I don't understand these opioids or what we're doing with drugs. But I do understand a necessity for medicine, but I'm also not a doctor or medical professional. But what they all have in common are sedative effects, and that it can actually really mess with your brain. It sends like messages to your brain that you're in physical pain and you need it. And then it's this whole yo-yo effect, as it seems on here, of being up and down, euphoric and sad, and medicate just like neutral. So was that, because that's all I really got from the CDC.
So like in my experience, like there's a long stretch of time that there's a lot of things I don't even remember, like at all. There's people that came and saw me, that I have no recollection of. And it got so bad to the point, like I wasn't the only one that noticed it. And like when you're taking all these things, like you're so numb to everything around you, and you're so like just not yourself, that like it really takes an outside person to really like tell you that you have a problem. And in my case, like I was lucky enough to where my boss like noticed like pretty soon. He was like, he called up my dad, and my dad was in Chicago, and he's like, Mac's not getting any better. The physical therapist is coming. He's not really doing the work. He's just kind of just taking these pills. And I didn't know it, because like I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh man, I'm really hurt. But I have stuff for that, and I'm gonna be able to block it out. And so like I would just take all these like medicines, and like there's movies that like I watched that I couldn't even tell you the plot of. Like I have no idea. And so my boss ended up calling my dad, and he's like, you got to come out here. He's not getting any better. So my dad shows up. I had no idea. And I'm just laying in bed, and he like comes up to me. He's like, hey, like, take a look at that. And I look over, and there's like literally like 20 pill bottles, and they're all open. And he's like, that right there. He's like, if the ski accident didn't kill you, like those for sure are going to kill you. And like, my dad's like, he's not an expert. Like he doesn't know, but he knows how bad drugs are. And based off of what my ex-boss told him, like, I'm sure like it wasn't good. And so he's like, what do you want to do about this? Because like in California, they didn't hand me any plans. There was nothing in that booklet that's told me how I'm supposed to get off these painkillers. And that's the problem we're seeing right now in the entire world, is like, especially in America, like over 16,000 people died last year from overdosing.
Oh, know me. I'm ready to hit you with all. That's all I can bring to the table. I love statistics. I don't love to see these statistics, but sometimes you need to be hit with the statistics. I've got them all, but
I figured you did. So
me. I was like a little math nerd. But what you just said, I think, is so powerful, and everybody needs to hear it. Is that you were given these, right? I've been in surgery. I've had the myriad of reasons you could be prescribed these drugs. And again, I'm not saying what's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying there's a lack of information on it and lack of understanding. And when you feel pain, and then your pain receptors are going off in all different directions as a side effect of some of those drugs, as the CDC told me, then you feel like you need to take something for that to be numb.
Yeah,
because it's terrorizing. So for that, I feel like that is really where at the base of what we're talking about as just, civilians, as we are, non-medical professionals, but definitely been in and out of a hospital, not like you. And they just give you like these prescriptions, There's here you go. Bye. We've
Good
decided
luck.
you no longer need to be here, and ta-ta. And you have a follow-up appointment in however many days. Well, there's a lot of questions I want everyone to ask after hearing this. This conversation, Mac, is mostly about your perseverance and the incredibly inspiring energy you can get from just one person's story. It's so powerful, it's a ripple that makes a wave. But also, maybe these people, maybe no one listening has ever been in that situation. Statistics say you may slip and fall. I'm not wishing that on you, but it could happen. You could twist your ankle, you could bump your knee. We get older, things fall apart, I'll tell you that. But you might need some form of hospital care. Okay, just know to ask these questions. Know that if they hand you a packet, or a red one, or especially the red one, but I don't know if they're color coded actually, but if they hand you a bunch of papers, read them. And if they prescribed you a bunch of drugs, just read about it, or have a loved one you trust read about it. Because, oh God, I think that would have helped a lot. There are so many side effects of them, and they are extremely difficult to get off of, from my understanding. But also, I don't know if you heard Jordana Latosa's, the last episode we had before the holiday break. She is a hero in helping individuals get off of these drugs, and a nurse practitioner. Genius. But she has a lot of information if anyone wants to hear more from a nurse practitioner. There's a lot in the last episode. So what you're saying is that they didn't give you a plan. Here are drugs, go goodbye, and there's no plan for that.
So that's California's doing. That was solely on California. I want that to be clear. Hey, California, figure it out.
Let me tell you, it's Michigan too.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure there's a bunch of states where it's like that, and that's the sad part. That's the disheartening part. But like in my case, when my dad came to me, I was like, you know what, you're right. Like for some reason, and I don't know, it probably was the drugs talking. I was like, yeah, you know what, let's flush them down the toilet. Like, let's get rid of them because I don't want to do this anymore. It's been months now, and like I'm not getting any better. And that was frustrating to me. Even through like all the pain and everything, like all the painkillers, like there's still something in the back of my mind that was like, dude, come on, like let's get over this already. And so that's what we did. We flushed them down the toilet.
All of them.
Kept all of them. And I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
All of them. At the time, were there any that had fallen off of this list yet, or was it still Percocet, Oxy, Valium, Xanax, Zofran, Methadone? What was the other ones? It was all of them.
Ambien, Ambien, Xanax, morphine, or not morphine. Percocet, OxyContin, Valium, and I think that was it. And then there's like something in there for nerve pain, but that wasn't anything crazy. So
about that's crazy. That stuff is
it was something similar to that. It begins with an N. It didn't work for me either. Yeah.
We just chemically didn't match, but maybe it works for some. But okay, so none of those had been weaned off yet. You were still, and how long had this been going on? What's the time?
This is probably like 7 months after.
7 months.
Like,
okay.
Yeah. Like it was. I don't know the exact timeline, but I remember it being like hot outside. So it had to be at least 6 to 7 months later. Because I was wearing shorts and but like, so to go back to the story, and this is a great point. We did not know, and because none of us have been in this situation before, that was the wrong way to do it. Like that was not the right way to do it.
No, the way to go back to the story is, let's just say that all again. You put all of those drugs, that any single one of them can be extremely, as CBC says, extremely addicting and difficult to get off of. each and every single one of them. So you
Right.
dumped all of them at once. What was it? Was that ceremonious? What was that like? Did you make a big deal of it? Play a song? Like, how's it?
I don't even think I got out of bed. I think my dad just took them and flushed them down the toilet. Yeah, I think I was just laying there and I was like, get rid of them. I don't want to do this anymore. But at that point, it gets a lot worse and it gets a lot darker. So in doing that, after the first few days, I was so sick. Like, I had somebody put water on just a regular like kitchen spoon, and I could not. I would sip it, and it would instantly come back up. Couldn't eat food. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't sleep. Like, nothing. And that was just the first 4 days. And so in doing that, like, after I've been throwing up and kind of like, it got to the point where I was throwing up stuff that, wasn't, it was like just my body. Like, it was like stomach acid. And I was so dehydrated that our only option was to take me from my boss's house. And thank God he lived right next to like Stanford Medical. So I was going in and out of Stanford every other day just to get fluids. And they, not once, like, I probably did that 3 or 4 times because I was there for 2 weeks, like, after I quit the drugs. And after every session, I would get the fluids. I would feel okay. Like, I would be able to like eat saltine crackers and stuff like this. So this went on for like 2 weeks. Towards the end of it, I was still like so broken to the point where it was tough to move me, but like I had to go back to Chicago. Like, I had to be with my family. Like, it was like I was in rough shape. So the last time I went to the second to last time I went to Stanford Medical, when I was sitting in the waiting room, still throwing up, like I remember this like so specifically. We got in the car because like I was so dehydrated, and it's literally like a 5-minute drive. And I knew that at this point I could take small sips of something, but I'm probably going to throw it up. But there's a small time delay. But I was like I needed water so badly. Like, my mouth was so dry that like I was taking like the smallest sips of like a LaCroix. And that was like the first time I ever had it. So I was like, oh, it's spicy water. Yeah, so I took a sip of it, and I'm like, all right, we got like a 10-minute time frame to get me in the emergency room doors before I start throwing up in this car.
You had it that dialed. You had it. You had done it so many times that you knew.
Yeah.
You had a time window. So I think you've told this story enough times that you miss that. For me, and I've heard this story a couple times, and I'm still just trying to, it's a lot to conceptualize all at once. But so you flush all of these painkillers down a toilet, or Dad does, bless him. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's what they recommend, but I don't know. We'll get to that. But, and you never went back on any single one that day on?
Not necessarily. So I'll get to that point.
We'll get to that too. But I'm just saying, in this 2-week time frame that you suffered through, what I'm assuming sounds like withdrawals.
Yes. Oh, I'm 100% going through full blown, pretty much heroin withdrawals is like the only way to describe it. I've never done heroin, but I can imagine that, like, if this is what it's like to get off that, or get off these painkillers, like I would never wish this upon anybody in my, like, even like the people that I don't like I would hate to see anybody go through anything like this, because it is so detrimental and so terrible.
Trapped in your body.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's right.
And like,
eat, you can't sleep, you can't drink anything. Yeah. You're crawling out of your skin. Why do I feel like I want to like crawl out of my skin?
Yeah. And like, that was the only time like where I've ever felt like so depressed that like, that was the only time throughout this entire process, through all the whole accident and everything, the only time in my entire life that I actually had a thought of like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be around anymore. Like, this is not worth it.
And that was the thing I wanted you to say, because you said it to me the very first conversation we had, where I'm like, this guy has been through hell and back, and then went through like, what's sub hell? But there's got to be like another layer of just at least like 7 more. where we thought that was hell when you died and came back to life a million times, and all the rehab, which I would love to have another session on just the rehabilitation, on like the specifics of that, because that's critical too. But for this, the fact that you said that to me has never left me, that through all of that, you didn't have the hope or the humor or the things all the time that I find in you. Even when you pop your skis back on and you got all this shit going on. Sorry. I did it again. That's twice. Sorry. But honestly, all this, major stuff going on, and you say I'm Mac McGinnis, I'm 23 years old. I mean, there's a lot of power in that, but there's also a lot of humor. And like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
But you felt despair here. And that's why we are all gathered here today. And that was the thing I really wanted you to say again to the class.
Yeah, so, that 100%, like, it takes a lot to, I think personally, it takes a lot to break me as a person. There's very few times in my life where I've felt hopeless. That takes the cake, 100%. I can't even compare it to anything. Like, no tragedy that I've gone through in my entire life or anything like that. Like, there's nothing. And I hope and I pray that, nothing ever gets to that point ever again. I know I won't do it. But there's just nothing to compare it to. And even the crazier part, so to go back to the part where, like, getting off these things, when I was going to Stanford the second to last time, they didn't read my chart. They did not read my chart. And they, instead of just giving me the fluids like I've been getting for the past week or two, got to the point where I like knew people in Stanford. This nurse didn't read my chart. She saw all the painkillers and was like, he's an addict. So they stuck me in the psych ward instead of just giving me fluids. And like, my boss was like irate, like screaming. He's like, he's not an addict. Like, this is crazy. What are you guys doing? And, I'm keeling over in pain. Like, I'm on this table and I'm like thrown up like left and right. And
you can die from dehydration too. Like, how many times?
Oh yeah.
Are we gonna?
All I needed was a little bag of saline. Like, and then after I got the saline, I had like 6 hours where I could like eat and drink. And then once that ended,
read the chart. I can't.
So, and this, it gets even worse. So like, while I'm in the psych ward, they were like, yeah, we're going to give you, I was like freaking out, and they're like, we're going to give you an antipsychotic.
No.
And I'm like, what? And they gave me Helidol, which is an antipsychotic. And for people that don't know, if you're not psychotic and you take an antipsychotic, or they inject you with an antipsychotic, the side effects are miserable. I lost all control of my legs. So my legs were just like kicking for no reason. And my back is broken. So that was painful. And then on top of that, it just felt like my entire body was on fire. Like, I was in so much pain. Like, I was screaming. Like, it was like nothing I've ever experienced before in my life. And then they were just like, oh yeah, sorry, that's our bad. And then, yeah.
So that's not as sorry. And I love doctors and medical professionals, and I think all the good ones know that. But listen, guys, like this, every person is a snowflake. If that's the very least you need to understand, start there. Read the charts. I've seen this with my own children. Read the chart. But we're not doubting whether or not you're a professional, okay, and you're good at your job. But everybody's got something that needs to be considered prior to any further treatment, period. That makes me.
I get it. Like, people make mistakes and everything like that. And like,
for sure. But
I don't hold a grudge.
Don't make that. But you've also, you're a familiar face there. Like, okay.
Yeah. So that sucks.
Because a lot of like wrongful deaths can happen that way. I'm going to breathe now while you finish your story. I get really, really upset about that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it makes sense. Like if one of my loved ones were to be in a hospital, like I would be asking a question like every single day, like every minute, like because I want to know what's going on, and like for them to just overlook that, um, it sucked. It definitely sucked, but I also understand that it's an emergency room. There's tons of people in there. It can get chaotic, so like I don't falter or fault
No,
anybody for
we're
that
not.
happening.
No, we're not
Yeah,
doing that. It's just
exactly.
it's like not a friendly reminder because that feels like the oh oopsie daisy, we gave you
Right.
these drugs. So we're not going to do that. But I do. So you were by yourself because you had been going back and forth for rehydration. So you didn't have someone there
Right.
to explain. Got it. So that makes way more sense
I
too.
did. So my boss was there, but
Oh,
like again, he's never been in that situation, and I don't think they told him that they were moving me to the psych ward until after the fact,
yeah, you
because
got
when he came in,
for a
like
grown
he
up.
was
You're an adult.
screaming. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was screaming at people. Like, yeah. He's like, I don't get why we're in the psych ward. Like, he just needs fluids, like this, and they're all just like part. Oh, yeah, that was a misstep, but it happens. Yeah,
Let's just speak about these things in casual terms
yeah,
because I think that like with a little humor, it's just more fun and more digestible. But I want everyone to know that these points are very valid, and there is no harm in, as we always say, Mac, asking questions, reading your
yeah,
chart, asking someone to come with you. If a doctor tells you they don't have time to hear the whole story, tell them they can wait.
yeah.
You
Exactly,
absolutely
100%.
can, because missteps happen, yes. And anything we can all do to within our own power to avoid them, knowing that there's risk everywhere, I think is what I empower the most. Let's just try to avoid these horrible situations by doing our own everything that we can within our power.
Yes, absolutely. Um, and this is actually, so after that whole debacle, this is actually where it gets like kind of interesting. So this is where I learned that it differs from state to state, because I wanted, like, the whole point of me going into Stanford, the very last time of me going into Stanford was to get we had a plan. So we had this down packed. My dad was there. He's like, we're gonna take you back to Chicago. I'm well enough, like my lungs are like okay enough to where I can actually get in a pressurized cabin and get on a plane.
Oh
My
yeah.
body, yeah, my body not so much, especially going through the withdrawals. So we knew that I had a 6 hour window from the minute I got off the IV, like the what's it called? The saline bag. I knew I had 6 hours before like it goes nuclear and I can't eat or drink or anything like that without throwing up and just being in excruciating pain.
And that's how you got on
So
the last tailspin of like you knew you had 10 minutes before you were going to
yeah,
vomit from your sips of the yummy LaCroix. You
yeah,
had done it
yeah,
so many times. It was all timed out. That
yeah.
fascinating. Okay.
So what we did was, as soon as I got done in the hospital, me and my dad literally took took an Uber uh, from Palo Alto, which is where Stanford is, to SFO, and flew back to Chicago. And like I remember, like the flight was bumpy, it was painful as hell,
Yeah.
but I wasn't throwing up. And I think it's like a 3.5 hour flight to Chicago from San Francisco.
Yeah.
But you gotta take the time to board and everything like that. So we're running up on the 6 hours here. And the first thing we do is, as soon as we land in Chicago, we get inside to like my dad's house and I start drinking some water and then throwing up again, like instantly. So now it's time to go to a hospital in Chicago and get fluids, because like we're just going to repeat the process. This is where it gets interesting. So I am in Libertyville in Chicago, and there's a hospital right by my dad's house, and I'm just there to get fluids. But as I'm sitting there, like in the hospital room getting fluids, my doctor comes in, and she read the chart. So she's reading the chart to me and my dad, and I think my aunt was there too. But as she's reading the chart, she's like, hold on, let me get this right. She's like, you're getting fluids because you're on this, and says the entire sheet. And she goes, when did you stop taking these? And I was like, 2 weeks ago. And she goes, so you were on all these drugs and you just stopped taking them? And I go, yeah. And she goes, no, we are admitting you. Like she literally looked at me and she goes, there is no medical explanation as to why you're still alive.
No,
because like your organ,
says that it will kill you trying to get off of them. I have a whole nother chapter on that. Okay, that I just to put an emphasis on that. Like, really mention that no, guys, this is not easy. You make it you don't make it look easy. You just I don't know how you. Anyways, I'll let you do it. But no, there's not a single thing I found on the World Wide Web or in a book that said you can just get off of all of the most majorly addictive with the most serious side effects drugs on the planet right now. All the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And so like at this point, like I still have probably like 4 or 5, I think, more surgeries to go through. So I knew that like at some point, yes, again, I'm going to have to take painkillers, but I'm like, I will worry about that when, that time comes. I got to see how bad the surgeries are and everything like that. But so throughout all this, while I'm in Illinois, this doctor is like, we're admitting you. We need to keep an eye on you for like at least 2 days. And she's like, basically, you have 2 options. She's like, you've been doing this for 2 weeks. She's like, on average, and I don't know how, I'm sure she knows what she's talking about. I don't know the truth on this or whatever, but she's pretty dang accurate. She's like, you have 1 more week to go through this. She's like, typically lasts about 3 weeks. And then, but she's like, but you have 2 options. She's like, I can give you Suboxone, which is what they give heroin addicts and all these other addicts.
That's from the last episode with Jordana. Yeah, Suboxone.
Yeah. So what that does, and I'm sure she would know this way better than I would, how I interpret it was that if I take Suboxone, it essentially like blocks the receptors in your brain from what the painkillers like can do. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I can't do that because I have to go through all these surgeries and I don't know how bad they are. And like, I don't want to be in pain, but like now with this like knowledge, like I could probably do it correctly. So I was like, that's not an option. And then she was like, okay, well, if that's not an option, then you have 1 more week of just going through hell. Like that's it. That's the bottom line. She's like, it's going to suck and you're going to have to come in and get fluids and everything like that. But like after the week's over, like you're going to go back to normal. And that was the longest week of my life. Like I pretty much locked myself in the basement with like a bucket next to my bed just because I was throwing up constantly. Couldn't sleep, like cold sweats, like drenched, night terrors, everything. Like it was insane. And then just one day I'm laying on the couch and my dad comes down and he's like, do you need any water or anything like that? And I like look over at him. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually kind of hungry. Can you go get me some mac and cheese? And he was like, the exact reaction you just had. He was so perplexed. He was like, what did you just ask for? And I was like, I'm kind of hungry. I want some mac and cheese. And that, like, just like that, like it was over with.
And why does that feel like the perfect thing to order at that moment? Okay, anyways.
I didn't even like mac and cheese at the time. It was weird. I don't know. Like I wasn't a huge mac and cheese person, but Chick-fil-A sounded pretty good.
Yeah, but that like too much to chew, like too much work.
Yeah.
But also easy on the stomach, maybe. I don't know. It's just you said that, and I was like, right, that's probably the perfect thing. So you had 2 weeks where post the let's just call it the mass flushing.
Yeah.
2 weeks post that, this angel nurse said you can go through hell for 1 more week.
Yeah.
Did you
Pretty
think
much.
at the time you had to have like, well, I already did it for 2. So like what 7 more days? But how do you believe that at the end of that, like she was like, and then after that you'll be fine?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't believe it either.
Yeah.
But I think like at that point, like I was just so
Done. Yeah.
so burnt out and just so physically exhausted and physically broken and mentally broken that I was like, whatever it takes. Like, I don't care. Just like if I just went through all that and this is like the meaning of like this means I can finally get out of this, then like sure, let's push through. And like if we're putting a date on it too, like okay,
I love
like
a date. Yeah, an end date.
yeah,
I love that.
right.
Like,
yeah, and like that was huge, like mentally. But
100%.
like up here during those times, like it was a dark place. Like I couldn't even explain it.
No,
I've never felt so,
because I think people do need to hear. If you're open to sharing, Mac, you don't have
yeah,
to. I mean, the fact that you do for so many, and also for me, anything you're willing to share, but I'm no stranger to night terrors, but I talk about them all the time on podcasts. Like I get them too, just for funsies, because I don't know, it's just what I do. But what was that like for you?
it's hard to even explain it. Like I just like I remember there just being a time where I was like, I wish I was dead. Like I really do. Like I like now, like looking back on that now, I'm like, oh man, that was just me being messed up from all the drugs and stuff like that. Cause like that's not something I would say. I would never tell myself that, because like you start telling yourself that, then like you start to believe it. And like you get to the point where like, oh man, I'm not worth it. And that's how I was feeling. I was feeling like I was a burden on everybody, which if anyone's ever said that to you, don't ever accept that, because it's not true. You're not a burden. And I want to make that point for sure. Cause like,
that you're worth it.
yeah.
If
you are worth it.
I mean, if you're being a jerk, different story. But if you're trying and you're a good person and all that, you're more than worth it.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
And
for everyone.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, it was the darkest I've ever felt. And like coming out of it, I was like, man, that was messed up. Like it was weird. Like your brain just kind of switches back.
That's
and
what
like all of a sudden I'm myself again. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like myself again. Like I had friends come. I had like 13 friends come over. Like my dad surprised me with them after I was feeling better. So it's like I was sitting there laughing.
The spell's lifted. She said 7 days. Was it truly on the 7th day? Like that feels so chemically weird to me that I like how, because remember how all people are snowflakes? Like how would she know it'd be 1 more week? Was it really that close to 1 more week, or was it like 7 to 10 business days? Just curious.
No, I think she was pretty accurate. I don't know if it was exactly 7 days, but I remember after I left the hospital, I was like, okay, like 3 or 4 more days, like that's it. And it was just 3 or 4 more days of just not sleeping, not sleeping. That alone will make you
kill you as well. Yeah,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
So it was just like a.
Yeah, it was that quick. It was real. I mean, it did like, okay, it was that quick in the point of like where I got my appetite back and stuff like that. But I still had to eat like slowly. Like very bland foods. Because like there were like a few times where I like, was excited to eat something, and I ate it too fast, and like of course like I went and threw up, but
got a little ahead of yourself.
It wasn't anything. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That happened a few times.
I mean,
sorry.
I would get that.
That still might happen.
I was like, that's kind of like when you're really hungry. Yeah. Wow. So you never. Can I go back for 1 second, just because you said mental health as one of the things you'd like to talk about, and you definitely have I have some relatives who have a situation, have dealt with this, and I've really seen so much. There's a massive breakdown in communication there and support, and it's across the board. It doesn't matter where you are or what you could do about it. It's just as you said, and that caught me this time in your story. For the first time, I've never heard you say it that way, where you were just funneled straight to the psych ward.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they read if they read your chart, they probably would have wanted to go to the psych ward themselves. They're like, he did not just like die a million times and take all these drugs, flush them all down the toilet, and now he's just here for a little rehydration. Like, they would not believe it. They'd think they were saying things. And I just want a little bit more on that. I don't know what I want to hear on it, but I can't imagine, because you're already sick. You already have your back's broken in 3 places. You're already, like you said, broken.
Yeah.
And then they put you in a psych ward. What does it look like?
So the psych ward was interesting. It was sad. It was really sad. I was in a room with another person who actually tried to commit suicide. He was a Stanford student. He was on the swim team. And I remember this specifically because it was finals week. And this poor kid, I mean, between him practicing for swimming, being a collegiate athlete, and going through finals, he was a freshman. And the only reason I know all this is because there was only a sheet that separated him from me. And of course, like, there were security guards in front of our doors and stuff like that. But yeah, I was basically in this room with this kid. I didn't get the chance to talk to him. I wish I could, like, honestly, because, I'm sure it probably wouldn't have been appropriate, but like, I just wanted to tell him, like, man, like, hey, this is a small, minor thing. Like, I get it. It's tough, but like, you're going to be able to get through this. Like, trust me. And I just like wanted to have a conversation with him, but I really couldn't. It didn't feel like it was like the right time or place for me to say anything. And we didn't really have like moments alone or anything like that, because like his family was there.
Mm-hmm.
But I fell for him. Like, I totally understood. Like, I could just tell by the way he was talking about it. Like, this kid was stressed, like,
in pain.
So much. Yeah, he was in pain. And
you remember when I just said there was something I needed to hear and I don't know what it is?
Yeah.
I think yeah, because that just landed so hardcore. So if he's out there, and God, I hope he is.
Yeah, me too.
Here's this. I think it's so cathartic because he probably thinks about you too.
I've actually never thought about it. I've never thought about it like that, because I think there's just a bunch of screaming and yelling going on from my end.
But there was something that I was like, wait, hold on. There's something we didn't release there. That's out there. Yeah. And for anybody else, it's not always a good time, as you said, but I've never been really great with my timing. I'm just more of like, I'm going to do it now, Miguel. That's not the way. I'm working on it. But thank you for going there instantaneously. I knew you would. That was it. Yeah. For you.
Good. Awesome.
And for everyone else. Yeah.
I just wanted to know, like, I get it. Like, it's hard. Like, life is hard. And I think I'm lucky enough to where I've kind of mentally prepared myself for these things now, like, moving forward, like that now, like, anytime something minor happens, it's like the whole world doesn't stop and like fall apart. Like, it's like, okay, like, I can deal with this. Like, it's going to suck. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know that this is not going to be great on anything, but like, once it's over, like, it's back to business. Like, it's back to normal. And, we can get through this. Like, and that's a thing too, is like, you don't have to go through it alone. You never should. Like, you gotta be open to, speaking to people, and like, God, that's why I love my friends. Like, I love my friend, and I've said it before, and I'll say it every time again. But like, there is nothing on this planet that I can go through, or that my friends can go through, that we're not there for each other. And like, even moving around from California to Chicago, living in Missouri to go to school. Now I live in Austin, Texas. Like, I have such a great group of friends, like core group of friends that, if something is bad is going on, like there's going to be someone there I can talk to. And I think the first initial discussion is always the hardest. But once you get past that, like, it's like, it opens up a world that you'll never realize until you're on the other side. And I think it's so,
you never knew you always wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's something that, like, after you do it too, after you open up about it, you realize that like you're way stronger than you think. Like, and that, like, it's kind of like a video game. Like, once you do it, you unlock it and you're like, whoa, like, all right, next level. All right. Like, I got like a power up here. Yeah.
Do it with me.
We feel like Mario.
Yeah, level that we just level up. But you say it so well, and you say it so selflessly, and you really are such a solid, like, oak human of. And I try to be this way, and I have always tried to lead by my vulnerabilities, because I don't want other people to feel pain that I went through by myself. I just inherently don't want that. And if I tell you this was my experience, maybe it will help you tell me or anybody, and
Right.
It will neutralize the situation. But you, in going into such great detail on all of this, is so rare, Mac. When we first talked about it, I went into a deep dive. I told you the other night, I was like, why I can't find anything really quite like this. And it's exceptional. You said in the last podcast that if you can make anyone's life better, and that purpose and how it serves you, and you and I both are so, we're like simpatico on that. There's so much healing on an individual, on our own levels, in helping other people. And you continue to do that. These are not easy things to say. And so somebody's got to say it first. And yeah, you did that. The fact that you were like, okay, so, and then you're so with your funniness too. She's like, you're probably going to die, or you can handle this for like one more week. And you're like, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. That's what you're telling me? All right.
You're saying there's a chance.
They've already given me 1%. Anything I get now that's extra. That's bonus. I'm living in bonus land here.
He's like, girl, please, I died 5 times. But then you ask for mac and cheese, and God, what a beautiful moment. I can see it from your dad's perspective too. My God, your dad must have been like, I'd be on my knees.
Yeah.
But also kind of laughing, like, what a perfect order. But like, God, amazing. And then your friends and talking to friends. Well, not everybody has friends. Not everybody has time for friends. But we are, Mac and I both talked about finding, and I know you have way more, Mac, than I do, on connectivity and where to chat. And the point, we should probably do this again on the same topic, because it's just a lot to talk about, right? And the details within what we do on the podcast is share experience through personal stories, because I've just found it more easily digestible. Like all those pamphlets and the papers and the long words with too many consonants, too hard to understand what's really going on with you. So the point of the podcast has always been, let's just find somebody who has that experience. It's been me sometimes, and have them tell their story if they want to. And, I try to tag along, I guess. But maybe that will get through. Maybe that will make it feel more comfortable for other people. There's a power in that sharing, you and I know we both.
Yeah.
But we'll find places for suggested.
Yeah, and like I think that's something that everybody can do. Like I try to make it a point to be the person that kind of steps out of if I have a friend going through a hard time, like I and we've all had it done to us, and I hope majority of us have. But like you can be the person to step forward and be like, hey, I know we don't hang out all the time. I know we don't talk all the time, but I appreciate you, and and like it feels great, and you never know when someone's going to need that, and just being there for somebody is like so huge. Like to have somebody in your corner,
anybody,
it makes a world difference.
It could happen in the bathroom, and then somebody's like, I need help, or anywhere. Be that hero. Boy, what it does to both sides. We say this every time, but for maybe you needed that too. And if you're capable, if you can, if you've got it to give, if you can be vulnerable enough, as there's so much power in that. I think people view that just being open with tough things to say, or a tough situation, or maybe I feel this today. And we kind of mess that up as a society, but that's another story. We don't have to continue with that. We don't have to move forward with that as individuals. Yeah. If you feel that, feel it, let it be, and talk about it. Because the truth is, literally everyone else wants to too. They're just waiting for an example.
Yours and sometimes like not even saying anything, just simply being there and listening can do the same thing. Yeah. Sometimes that's the right answer. You just gotta work at it, and hope the other person reciprocates it and is open to it. And if they're not, that's okay too. These things take time, and it's not like it's gonna happen overnight. So
any single breakthrough, like you said, just if you could just try once to reach out, to try just one foot in front of the other. Like you said, okay, so there's going to be a few more days. Just let's focus on what are the next steps. And I find you just stunning.
Thank you.
As an individual.
I find you, I think you're an amazing person as well. Like to put all this together, what you guys are doing over at LittleWins and everything like that, like it's spectacular, and I'm happy to be a part of, like, contribute to it, like from the bottom of my heart. This is therapeutic for me too. Like this is amazing, because I don't always get the chance to explain this side, and that was the hardest part, and for a long time I didn't want to talk about this part at all. I knew I needed to. But like one day I was just like, you know what, if I'm going to get over this, I got to either turn it into a joke or just like, actually tell somebody, because like me keeping it in doesn't do me any good. And if I can bring it out and share it with the world, then, maybe it hits with somebody that's going through something similar. And that's realistically like what I'm trying to get out of this and everything like that. So
LittleWins is a sharing platform. We share all kinds of things, but sharing information is one of them, and personal stories is one too. That's been harder than finding people who want to share used medical equipment. And the fact that you are willing to is so critical to just our objective of sharing. And so thank you for that.
Of course.
I do want to talk about the physical therapy aspect of it. Can we do another one?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Because there's a lot that that needs to be shared on that for sure.
The degree that I got that I don't use.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, I was going to be a physical therapist before all this happened.
There's still time.
I'm good. I don't want to do that anymore.
But I just think that there are so many pockets, like we breeze through these things because we can't have a 17-hour podcast. But but we could on all your topics within just, what was that, 7 months of your life?
Yeah.
At that time, only in 23 years. So yeah, we can expand on these things. Let's crack them wide open, each and every one of them. And I promise I'm getting better. The live situation has caused many technical issues, and I feel like everyone's just like fed up. Can everyone please just understand that actually wasn't any of us yet again, but we did prevail yet again. Bananas. Any whoosies. I wanted to ask you, Mac, before I let you go.
Yeah.
Just tonight. Do you have any advice on all these? Like, you can take a second and I can do a tap dance, or there's like a button apparently where I can put on some music, but I would go with like your gut on 3. Do you have 3 things of it, just from the actual jumping off of like the 40-foot drop, or what was it? No, you were 40 miles per hour and just straight down.
Yeah.
And helmet. I'm gonna let that be my landing page. Just wear your helmets. I'll never stop saying it. God, I'm risk adverse, but I do love to go fast. There's that too.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about it. You kidding me?
No, yeah, just wear your helmet. For people who are going through, when I looked at these, should we hit them with any of these? I mean, guys, what you should know is this is bad, and it's going up by 30% every year. We have 96,700 people, and this is roughly, right, dying from these particular drugs as overdoses alone. That's not just from post-operative care or whatever. That's just like a willy-nilly toss it out kind of deal. We don't have to hide that. That pain comes from real places. There are things to do with it. It doesn't make you different or wrong or a monster. We all feel these, like you said, Mac, dark feelings. That's the deepest darkness you've been in. Yeah, well, I could tell you some stories about that pain I've had too. And all the ways that we dig ourselves right back out of it because we know that's not where we belong. But it sometimes takes a long time. And obviously a lot of vomit, then some saline, then
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
some mac and cheese to just get them on out of there.
Icy pops, icy freezes, those little popsicles.
Love those. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, those things. I lived off those for 3 weeks straight.
They love those.
That's mainly how I got my hydration, was those frozen icicle things. Yeah.
Wait, this is important. I don't know why, but in 2020 or whatever, when there was no toilet paper. Sorry, these things come out. The Pedialyte made those.
Oh.
So my kids loved icy pops, and it was so critical that we had them. But there were no icy pops at the grocery store. What there was like something that looked similar. And it's Pedialyte. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'm gonna freeze it. We're gonna scratch off the, wording a little.
Yeah.
And we're
I'm 29 and I still eat them.
Yeah, they're good too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so that advice number 1.
It's actually like, I love the fact that you're asking me to do this, because I want to go back to the friend. This could not have come better, like the way that you set this up, and this was not on purpose. To go back to the beginning of the story, when I said that my friend told me, hey, like, let's not talk about this at dinner. He actually said something super important after that text message, and it's something that I really needed to hear. And I can't think of a time that anybody's ever said it to me. And he's like, don't take this the wrong way, but like, you're more, and he was on the trip. Like, I know the kid very well. He goes, you're more than one date that happened to you 8 years ago. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, like, he's 100% right. Like, don't, and the way that I take it is like, just because your book has some bad chapters, you're still holding the pen, and you can write. You still have the opportunity to write the rest of your chapters, to write the rest of your book. Give it a good ending. And so that was, and this was like 2 weeks ago. So that was incredibly powerful, and I'm very thankful that he said it. So that's one. The second one, as I was flipping through my little red notebook, I actually opened it up, and the first thing that I read, it actually says hope, and it's something that my cousin wrote down, and it's hope as in an acronym, and it says, "Hold on, pain ends." And like says it right here.
Can I see it? Yeah. Can everybody see it? Hold on, pain ends.
Yeah. So I mean that right there, that was weird, but I was like,
No,
man, that's really good.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, so
I want it on mugs, and
that might be my next tattoo.
I would like iron on my jean jacket. Why not?
Yeah.
I love that. That's
I think that's a really good one, and I think that came at a perfect time too, because I haven't opened this book in a long time, and to see this again, it just makes my day. So that's number 2. And
wait, is that the
number
from earlier when you said you found your records or whatever? Was it?
Yeah, I thought this red binder. I forgot that all this stuff was in there. I thought, yeah. I pulled it out of a trunk that had a padlock on it. Like
we needed to unearth it.
Yeah. I did not know that was in there. And then as I opened it up, I'm like, oh, I forgot I did this. And that was the first thing I opened it up to. So, yeah.
So rad.
Yeah, life is crazy. Life is crazy. And the last thing that I will say is, even when things are going good, because bad things happen all the time. But even when things are going good, just keep calm. If you're going through hard times, know that they're going to end. And just, if you find yourself like at the lowest point, like you said, just like keep your head above water for one more day, just one more, because like it could change tomorrow, and just maintain that it's okay. Like do the little self check-ins. Like, this is what I do every morning. It's like, is my family okay? Yep. My friends okay? They're all healthy? Yep.
Head, shoulders, knees,
and then like,
yeah.
And then from there, it's just like little goals. You just need little goals. It could be as easy as not hitting snooze in the morning.
Yep.
Because you're the only person that really knows you. You've grown up with yourself the entire life. You have you. And if you can do these little things and just make small corrections, it's going to go so much farther than you think, because once you start accomplishing these little goals, something as simple as not hitting snooze, you're preparing yourself for something that might happen down the road. Because, I mean, it's life. Things are going to happen. But when those things happen, it's not doomsday. The world's not going to crumble, and you're going to be able to get over this. So
it reminds me.
Work hard.
Yeah, it reminds you of what you're capable of. Like that seems like, the bad one for you, the snooze thingy. But like getting out of bed, just for a lot of people, and that's okay. I mean, I've heard a lot of stories, but today you're going to get out of bed.
Yeah.
What if it's just that? And that's the goal for today. And then maybe tomorrow you try just doing that again to reinforce it. I like to double down and just make sure we can still do it.
Yeah.
But maybe the day after that, it's like we add getting dressed.
Yeah. And enjoy the process too. Don't think it's going to create happiness, because it's not.
No.
But enjoy the part, because like you don't want to chase happiness. You want to chase joy. Like that's what you really want.
But it's also to reinforce and remind you of how much you're capable of, and how it can feel so crappy sometimes that you feel like you don't want to. And if you just one step, then one more, Like, I think you're kind of beating it now, right? Because didn't everything tell you couldn't?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look,
Yeah,
you just got out of bed, okay? So how about that? And then you just keep adding to it, and you look back at that feeling, you tell it no. Because
absolutely.
look at what I'm capable of. And if I've learned anything, I know that people have incredible strength and incredible power, intelligence, and love when they need it the most. They just forget to give it to themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important.
Yeah.
When you look in the mirror, tell yourself you love you, because it'll do wonders.
Because you kind of have to, because without you,
Yeah.
but I'm talking to myself too. I'm talking that I don't think any of this is easy. Let's just be clear. I have my own demons and baloney, but I have found in just connecting with people, that's a big one when it comes to medications and addictions and the pain they go through. And that's all as a not medical professional, but just a, pretty solid human, I think. Solid in years at least. I've been here for a while. But is that maybe just focus on the small, like you said, like just the littler goals. If you're feeling like there's no chance, maybe just try one thing.
Yeah.
Just show it who's boss.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do it
and we're all capable. You're all capable of doing it.
And know that you're not
person.
alone. We always end it like this. And know that you're not alone.
100%.
Oh, Mac, you make me cry. I cried 3 times. You make me laugh. You make me cry. I can't thank you enough. But I do. I'm just gonna put you on the spot right now, really quick, before we hang up. I would really like for you to entertain the concept of being a guest writer on our blog that has a lot of need for your story, and anything we may have missed on this episode, like any details or anything, because of just can't be a 17-hour thing.
Absolutely. No, I would be honored to do that. Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
You want to high 10 me? Ready? 1, 2.
I'll give you 5.
Come on. I love you. I thank you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
You're so great. Yeah. You say good night. Tell him.
All right. Good night. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye. Okay. It's not ending. It's not ending.